Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I do a lot of weird stuff on this channel. I jam out, I share events, and I do sort of kind of try to share what I know. And I did a video a while back on, learn how to play the Syko way, and I kind of got into scales. And I thought we didn't talk enough about that. We really didn't talk enough about scales. So I wanted to get into some more details about my study on these scale patterns. So I'm not studying scales, I'm studying scale patterns. And one of my favorite ones to explain to people are ones I call stretchies. And they're called stretchies for a reason. Because you've got to stretch between 5 frets. See that? I'll do it on the dot, so you go dot, dot, dot. You go on each dot. So there's your first 3 notes in a scale, right? That's a stretchy. You're stretching out. That was a scale. 3 notes, stretchy. 3 more notes, stretchy, and then 2. And the reason I say I'm studying the patterns and not the scales is because they work everywhere. Like if I'm starting this pattern on the bottom string, the low E string, I started on the G, that's a G scale. But if I move up and start on the A, that's an A scale. B, that's the B scale. Now if I go to the next half a step up to the C, it's a C scale. So just learn the pattern and you're good to go. And there's differences. I'm doing the one that starts on the low E string. And it has a companion, it has a twin, okay? Because that pattern works everywhere. I actually have a visual to show you in a second. Oh, I'm excited. I actually did a friggin' graphic and I got it on my computer. And anyway, the twin is the next string down. The A string is where you're going to start. Instead of on the E string, which is what I just showed you, let's do the next string down and start. Same exact pattern. Same exact pattern. No matter what fret you start on, the pattern is the same. That fret that you start on, that's your root note. That's that's your key signature, your key. I'm playing it on. Let's see, starting it on C. So that's my root note. I'm playing in the key of C. Now let's go up to D, or well, let's go to E. It's the same pattern. You're just starting on the note you want to be, the key you want to be in, right? So let's give you a visual, okay, so you can actually see this. Bam! The bottom image is the one where you start on the E string. And you see you got the 3 notes per string and then the 2 notes side by side on, I'm going to point the wrong way, on this side of the pattern. Notice that on both examples, the one on the bottom and the one on the top, the 2 side by side notes are on this side. The camera's backwards from the view, so forgive me, but it's on this side of the pattern of the 2 middle notes, okay? The let's see, if I'm looking at what I say here is example 8, okay? It starts C, D, E on the bottom string, and then F, G, A. Well, the D and the G, I'm going to call that the middle, okay? So the half step is on the left side of the middle. Now, what's really weird, okay, Let's see if I can pull up the next one. On the third string down, you notice the half step one, the last two, are on the right side of the middle of this thing. So the first two are twins, and the next string down, it's on the other side. So starting on the D string, let me zoom in so you can see me again. Hold on, where's my cursor? Boom. Okay, so starting on the D string, it's almost identical. The first two strings are the same. You just do that 3-note pattern. But now the half step one, the side by side notes, are on the other side of the middle. The ones down here, it's on this side. Down here, it's on this side. So the first two strings, that half step note combo there, the last two notes, and it's before, and the third string down, it's after. It's on the right. Really cool, right? So now, being that they're almost identical except for that little shift on the B string, which I call the B string shift, or what the B, right? Cursor move to the other screen. All right. Now, the next string, you start on the G string. It gets a little wonky. You notice how it staggers. The 3-note pattern on the first two strings of the scale staggers. But it's still 3 notes. And then you get the two side by side at the end. This is why I call these stretchies, because they're all doing that 3-note pattern. And it doesn't matter what fret you start on, as long as you know which pattern you're starting with. Like if you're starting on the low strings, then you know the pattern's going to be on this side. You start on the third string down, it's on the other side. You start on the fourth string down, and you got to stagger them. Okay? So, then there's one more, I believe. Let me go back to me. Now, they're almost identical other than that little shift, the B string shift. You notice nothing shifts until the strings touch that B string. The scale reaches that B string, and then there's a shift. So, the B string shift, which is weird. Okay? So, it's really easy pattern to memorize. 3 notes, and then the two side by side. You just got to remember where to shift. If you're on a certain string, you got to start shifting it. Now let me pull up another one. I think I showed you that. Yeah, the top string. It's starting on the G string, right? How it staggers compared to the other 3 examples. Now this last one, you got your 3-note pattern, but there's only 2 strings to work with now because you're on the 5th string. You're starting from the 5th string. So first, it starts out with the 3 on top of the 3, just like the first 2. Pretty easy. But then you gotta remember to slide down and add those last 2. And why are they side by side like that? On all the patterns, why are the last 2 side by side? Well, because the major scale pattern, if you remember from that video, if you watched how to learn how to play the Syko way, I mentioned the whole, half, whole, half. The half holes, right? Well, the very last part of the major scale is the half. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So the last two notes are a half step. That's why the last two in this pattern are always side by side, because that's that last half step. You don't see the middle half step because it's between strings. From one string to the next is a half step. So you don't actually see it as a half step in the pattern, but it is. But you see the last one, and it's always going to be that, side by side, note after finger after finger. You just need to know on the B string when to start shifting things over. Because like I said, the first two, I don't know what I did with them. Yeah, the first two, you see that the last half step, they're in the same spot on the left side of the scale pattern. And then when you start on the D string, you're going to end up, the last two notes are on that B string, so you need to shift it over a little bit. Because when you're tuning, you notice you have to, you change what fret you tune to as opposed to all the rest. You make that shift when you do the B string. Well, the same thing happens with your scales and stuff. You have to keep in mind that that B string, there's a shift back, which means you have to move forward to keep up, right? It's like when you do drop D, you drop your string down lower, you got to move your finger up higher and do the one finger power chord instead of the two fingers. You need to move that finger up because you lowered the string, you lowered the note, so you had to move your finger higher to get the same note you did in the power chord with two fingers. Same thing, same idea with the B string. Because you shift it, you're tuning down a half a step when you're tuning it to make the B. When you get to these scales and stuff, you got to keep in mind that there's that shift. So you notice on this one, the B's are on the right side now. The B's, the half steps, the shift there, the B string shifted. Okay, and then when you start on the next one, you've got one of the three note patterns on the B string, so you have to shift it forward to make it work. Because you know what I mean? It's got that shift. And it's a real simple pattern to remember because it works in each position, each string starting. You know what I mean? You got 3, 3, and 2. 3, 3, and 2. 3, 3, and 2. You just got to remember where to make that shift because of the B string. Other than that, it's the same exact pattern. Okay? So what does this tell you? Well, how does this help you? How can you use this? I mean, again, it works anywhere. So if you're improvising, if someone says, hey, I'm going to play in the key of B, find a B. And if you use my method and memorized your B, C, E, Fs, you'll know that that should be a B, right? There's my B, C, E, Fs, all the half steps on the fretboard in the key of C major, in natural notes, just so to learn with the notes, B, C, E, F. You got your B here, and then if you do the octave thing, instead of doing a power chord, you shift down a string, there's your octave. So if the first one is a B, then that one down there is a B. So you could start your improvising in the key of B, you learn the pattern, and you're good to go. I can't stress that enough, and I say that too much too. I say I can't stress that enough because it's important. The pattern. Who cares what note it is? Just remember the damn pattern, and then as you learn the notes, you'll know where to start the pattern. Like say, hey, I'm playing the key of B, so find a B. That's the key of B, baby. It's B major scale. You know what I mean? I'm not a professional. I'm kind of learning it myself and trying to incorporate it into my improvisation and just the way I wing it. But how it helps me, I'm thinking, okay, so how do I use that? How do I use that? So I start messing around with it. Because that half step, I know that even though we didn't play any more notes on that string, the last string of the scale, because that's a half step, I know that any note before or after that on that string is going to be a whole step before or after. So I don't have to go down to the next string and keep doing that scale pattern, because I know that whole step behind it is still part of that scale. Okay, so you don't have to do the whole stretchy when you're doing it. You can do that half step, slide back. Now you don't need to play that one way up here with your pinky because you already got it right here. But you can still keep going with the rest of the pattern. So now when I'm soloing and I get to the point where I know I do a lot of pentatonic, and I always sort of add that D scale pattern to add that little half step right here in the middle. So now when I'm playing pentatonics, I can start kind of mixing it in with that major scale pattern and get away from how I'm stuck in the pentatonic. Notice I'm sliding right there, but I'm still playing that stretchy pattern. You just, I'm gonna throw. Oh, which one? Close that one. I'm gonna open this one. Yes, that's the one. Because I'm messing around with my pentatonic, and I'm kind of incorporating this. Where is my layout? Alright. So, like I'm doing that little half step. I kind of throw that in with my pentatonic. Because you get the pentatonic skips 2 frets on the first going down it. So a lot of times I'll add that half step on the second string down. So now that I've added that half step, I kind of planted myself on what scale I'm going to use now. So now I know that whole step after is part of the pentatonic. But now I can go down further and get out of the pentatonic box by sliding back a whole step if I want to, because I know the whole step after that half step is part of the scale. And it helps kind of like with writing melodies and stuff, and trying to break free from that awful habit of just playing pentatonics on everything. Everything's pentatonic. Everybody gets stuck in the pentatonic. Learn where it fits into the major scale and just break free from that pentatonic, right? Because you get stuck there. There's that half step I add. back and do it kind of backwards and skip part of the half step and use that as part of the pentatonic. Because the half step is there, so I know that whole step behind it, makes it a pentatonic, is part of the scale. See, the note's there, so why not use it when we're... And I just love the fact with the guitar being so linear that you learn this pattern, it works everywhere. And I'm just excited that I can show you the graphic. I tried explaining it in my video before and I wasn't prepared. I'm really not prepared now, but I have a graphic and I just wanted to jump on real quick and say, hey, check these out. And I think I'm going to do a couple episodes like this. Right now I showed you what I call the stretchies. And in the other video I told you I found like over 12 different scale patterns, which I'm learning to incorporate into each other to give me more fluidity across the fretboard, which is what I just did now. I showed you the stretchies and I kind of incorporated that pentatonic and how to tie it into the major scale a little bit. When you practice with it, you'll find it, you'll hear it, and you'll see it. Now that I have visuals, you might be able to follow along. Right? That stretchy, that pattern, 3, 3, and 2. Remember where to shift when it gets to the B string, whether it's the half steps on the B string or the 3 notes for the, you know what I mean? It's going to shift always at that B string. But it's the same pattern, 3, 3, and 2, 3, 3, and 2, 3, 3, and 2. I like it. It's hard to play it because, yeah, you stretch your fingers out, but like I said, you don't have to do the stretch. You can slide with it. It's just getting a visual of the pattern planted in your head so you know where to put your fingers. And then learning that it works everywhere. And then start incorporating the other scale patterns that they'll tie in before and after it. You can continue up a different scale pattern and still be playing the same scale. It'll help you move up the fretboard when you're soloing and know where to land. Hopefully. That's my goal for myself. You know what I mean? I want to be more fluid with it. I want to have a more fluent knowledge of what I'm doing. Whereas I'm just improvising, I'm winging it, and I'm going by ear. And if I like what I sound, I kind of stick there. With the pentatonic, I kind of got stuck there because I like the way it sounds, okay? But I'm trying to break free, and I'm going to try to help you break free too. So, episode 1, stretchies, check. Stay tuned for more interesting thoughts on scaling. We call this Syko Scalientology. Syko Scalientology 101. Till next time, keep on practicing.